In other news tonight, with a week to go until the US election, Kamala Harris has made her final pitch to Americans at a rally in Washington, D.C. But her address has been undermined somewhat by Joe Biden after he responded to the Puerto Rico garbage sled made at the Donald Trump rally in New York.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
With the polls super close, it's a remark that could prove costly for the Democrats. But Harris was defiant as she spoke to thousands of supporters. She branded Trump a petty tyrant, declaring it was time for a new generation of leadership in America.
And Waleed is in the States. He joins us now. Waleed, what did you make of Harris's closing remarks?
I thought it was a really interesting way to try to close out the election campaign, to stand in Washington and look a little bit presidential, but especially to stand on the ellipse where Donald Trump asked his followers on January the 6th, 2021 to march on the Capitol, and we know what happened there. So this is really Kamala Harris's attempt to try to frame Donald Trump in that way and frame the whole election, I think, around this image of Donald Trump as someone who doesn't respect democracy. And so this is a pitch, I think, to that part of America that maybe isn't in love with Kamala Harris or the Democrats, but is a bit scared of what Trump might be. We've actually just arrived here in Atlanta, in Georgia, from Michigan, where we were speaking to people who do talk occasionally about stolen elections, but are really concerned with some other broader issues to do with the fate of their economic lives, specifically the auto industry. We'd come from Detroit, where, I mean, this is Motown, this is Motor City, this is where the car industry was everything. And of course, it's fallen on hard times. So we went there to take the temperature of some auto workers, because these guys really might decide the election across several states. And let's just say the temperature was pretty high. Have a look. About 30 minutes north of Detroit is Macomb County. This is Trump country.
People love Donald Trump.
Trump, baby! So you can't help but notice the honking. It's a big feature of this. Is there more honking now than usual?
Oh, yeah. It's always been that way. The people of America know they were robbed in 2020, and they're not happy with the way things are now.
Mark Fortin has been holding his freedom rallies on this street corner every Sunday for the past 5 years.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
The American people want what everybody else in the world wants. Prosperity for your family, peace in the world, and with Donald Trump we have peace. With Donald Trump we have prosperity. They're honking their approval.
Trump 2024, baby. He is the man. I think he relates to us.
Michigan is part of America's industrial heartland, an area stretching across several states. It once made up more than 40% of American jobs. And in this state, those workers were making cars. Detroit, the undisputed home of the US auto industry, at its peak supporting almost 500,000 jobs. But for decades, those jobs have been leaving, hitting Detroit hard. America's industrial heartland, now its Rust Belt, is also home to this election's biggest battlegrounds. In Macomb County, they reckon they know who's to blame.
If I'm in prison and I want to go in and have my penis cut off, you got to pay for it if you're a taxpayer. This country has gone crazy. Are you rolling?
65-year-old retired auto worker Brian Pannebecker spent more than 3 decades making cars.
All the people who had been lied to for years and had been voting Democrat because their union leadership told them, vote for Democrats, we'll protect your jobs. Meanwhile, plants were closing, the plants were moving to Mexico.
He's also the founder of Auto Workers for Trump. Brian, your T-shirt makes it pretty clear. Why do you think auto workers should vote for Donald Trump?
Because our politicians have been giving our jobs away for decades. Donald Trump is not a politician. He's the first person we've had ever that was a businessman. He knows how to negotiate business deals. Donald Trump loves the domestic auto industry, he loves the auto workers, and he will fight for us.
Brian's now a regular at Trump's biggest rallies.
Every one of you has the power. Get out and get all your friends and family to vote.
You know Trump personally. What's he like?
He's got a great sense of humor, and I've made him laugh a lot. That's why I think that's part of the reason we became friends. He likes to laugh, he likes to talk. He's just a regular person, though. He's not mean and evil and hateful, and he's not a racist or a hater or, any of the things that our media says he is. He's not.
This election, Trump is promising workers an end to taxes on tips, protection of local industry by raising tariffs on imports, and a rollback of Joe Biden's incentives on electric vehicles.
It's insanity to vote for Kamala Harris. You're basically saying, I don't want my job anymore. We'll buy all our vehicles from China. I'll go sell coffee at Starbucks.
President Trump's committed to protecting America's auto workers, standing up to China's unfair trade.
The Democratic Party once had a stranglehold on the working class vote. That all changed back in 1980, when many turned Republican, voting in Ronald Reagan. The Democrats have struggled ever since to completely win them back.
Kamala Harris has a history of fighting for the American worker. Kamala Harris is looking out for us.
Fighting Trump, these workers from the auto union, getting ready for a day of door-knocking in support of Kamala Harris.
So it seems like auto workers in Michigan are quite divided, actually, about this election. Why is that?
I really think because some of our brothers and sisters are confused. Former President Trump, he throws out a lot of fluff. I like to call it non-issues, things that don't really matter.
I think that they're just scapegoat arguments to real bigger issues. I think Trump has made a career out of disillusioning workers out of what's actually best for them.
Harris has pledged to ease the tax burden on families and build millions of affordable new homes. She's also agreed to match Trump's plan to scrap taxes on tips.
Why do you think there are so many working class voters, and especially auto workers, who seem attracted to Trump? What do you think's going on there?
Workers have been hurting for well over 30 years. Our wages have been so stagnant. They're hurting, and they view that the machismo of Trump will help them move forward with flashy policies, but they don't actually think about how it affects them as a people and as a worker.
You know, I'm much more popular than anybody with the auto workers. We're going to get 95% of their vote.
Trump has been speaking to the common man for so long. Why do you think that auto workers should vote for Harris when Trump's right there?
We lost 6 plants under Trump. That would be a good reason. Harris brought back 2 with the EV. He did not help us at all.
And we're going to vote and we're going to show him we don't believe his lies.
While the Auto Workers Union admits there have been mistakes made in the past, they say Trump is not the answer.
The two administrations is very black and white, night and day on who is going to institutionalize collective bargaining rights. We have one that supports firing striking workers, one that has blatant charges against many of his bankrupt businesses, and we have another that joins us on picket lines.
Wall Street didn't build the country, the middle class built the country.
But across town, these workers say that's too little, too late. They're confident change is coming.
Joe Biden, he's not a blue-collar guy. You know who the blue-collar guy is? The billionaire from New York that built the New York skyline. He represents the blue-collar people.
The vast majority of American people are behind Donald Trump, and he's going to win hugely next week.
Donald Trump is a businessman.
I do polls every week. Yeah, I'm asking the workers, and Trump is in the lead.
Well, super interesting to hear all of those views. Waleed, just how important do you think this group of people are going to be to the election outcome?
I really think that could be decisive because it's not just Michigan, it's also places like Wisconsin and hugely Pennsylvania. These are 3 states that have received so much attention because they decide elections. They won it for Trump, really, in 2016. They won it for Biden in 2020. Obama carried them, and these auto workers particularly, so strongly over his 8 years. So they have outsized power, really, within this election.
Well, we are a week out from the election. Which candidate is doing better at reaching them?
It's so hard to tell. The divisions are very real. The Auto Workers Union actually put out a poll of its members, and they found that they were favouring Harris by a margin of about 20 points. But then you talk to the Trump-inclined auto workers, and they just say, that poll's just rubbish. I know, because I speak to the people on the factory floor, and they estimate it would be 65-35 or something like that. So it is just wild the way that people try to guess how these things might go. But one thing we do know is this is a group of people that have suffered loss after loss after loss, and they're looking for people to blame. And the union has a very strong position in favouring Kamala Harris, but it is clear that a big chunk, we don't know how big, but a big chunk simply doesn't agree with them on that. So all eyes really on this cohort. They really could be the most decisive one.
Waleed, good to chat. See you next time.
Thanks a lot, Dave.